Well, welcome everybody. Thanks for coming out today for this huge benefit clerk meeting. The board approved some big changes for the consortium that will start in 2024. And today is a big kickoff for a lot of that. It's also the kickoff for open enrollment period. So I know it's a really full agenda. I forgot to pack my lunch. So I know that I might get hungry towards the end of this, but Kylie's committed to keeping us on agenda. For those of you who were with us last week, thank you for coming back, because we got a little over agenda last week, and the lack of trust may be there, but Kylie runs a pretty tight ship. So we want to get started right away. I am introducing our hosts today and our speakers. Number one, Kylie Rodriguez. You all know does a great job as our benefit clerk for the consortium, and is currently not only managing open enrollment that we normally go through this time of year, but she is also going to be managing the transition that we will be talking about today with our prescription benefit manager. Talking primarily about that is Brandon Holt, and I just saw Brandon come on the screen. So Brandon Holt is our account manager from Excellus, and will be not only our medical account manager next year, but also our pharmacy benefit manager as well. So welcome this morning, Brandon. Nice to see you. Look forward to hearing what you have to say. Our other speaker, I do not see, Kylie.
He's here. Dan's here, buried in the mix. He's here.
Okay. I was scrolling through names, but holy cow, this is quite a crowd. There he is. Dan Berkey is with us from Lifetime Benefit Solutions, and we are partnering with them on several different levels. You already know about some of the services they provide for us as a discounted service, but they will also be providing COBRA administration to our smaller municipalities. So municipalities with 50 or less employees covered on the plan. So that will be new next year. We'll hear a little bit about that today as well. So Brandon and Dan, welcome. And welcome to everybody else. It's great seeing all your names on the screen. And although we don't get a chance to see you all in person, it's nice for you all to be here with us together as we hear about the exciting changes that are coming about for the consortium. So welcome, Kylie. I'll turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Elin. I do want to point out, so we kind of have a mixed group today. So we have our people that have been through probably 100 open enrollments with us and know the drill. And we also have some of our new members who are joining the consortium in 2024. So some of the information I'm going to go over may seem a little repetitive for some of our veterans, but it's important to just kind of review some of those open enrollment steps that we have in place to ensure that our members are getting their cards on time and any plan changes are done on time and things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and then we'll jump right in. Bear with me here as people are coming in. I also have to let them in too. All right, so Elin did a great introduction, kind of introducing everyone that's going to be speaking today to you. I'm going to do kind of a consortium overview for different things that we have going on at the consortium and upcoming changes, and then we're going to dive into some details about the new PPM as well as the COBRA benefit being offered through LBS for our small groups. So as you can see, we have a lot of topics we're covering today. I promise not to take too long on a lot of these, but I run a pretty informal presentation, so you are welcome to interrupt me at any time that you have questions. You can throw them in the chat. You can unmute however you prefer. I will give you a heads up. I can't see everybody on my screen, so if you're doing your hand raise, I may miss it. But please feel free to jump in anytime with questions, and we'll try to do some pauses as well for questions just to make sure everybody's on the same page. I'm not going to read this whole list to you because we're just going to go right down the list anyway, but just so you're aware. Okay, so consortium open enrollment. Open enrollment or annual election period is something that by law, every employer needs to offer their employees if they're offering health insurance. We recommend hosting your open enrollment November 1st through November 30th. By no means are you restricted to that month. You can start it earlier. We have some of our larger municipalities that like to start open enrollment in October, get the paperwork out, give time to get people responding back. But we do ask that to kind of end any changes by November 30th, because that gives us and our Excellus team time to process all those changes. And if they're moving plans, to get those new cards out to them mid-December, so everyone has their new insurance cards by January 1st. But to just give you an idea of that time frame. Open enrollment is that time of year where people can elect to make changes. Maybe they want to drop dependents, maybe they want to add dependents, but they didn't have a special enrollment period throughout the year to add them or take them off. This would allow them to do that. So it's a great time for everyone, employee-wise, and everyone who's enrolled on the health plan to review their benefits and make sure that they're enrolled in what they want to have, and that the people enrolled on the plan are the dependents they want on the health insurance. So who can be covered by the plan? Obviously the employees, but also the employee's spouse or domestic partners. Dependents can include children, stepchildren, and domestic partners' children. But we're not covering, like, let's say, grandparents and things like that on an employee's plan. So those are the restricted groups that would be covered by the health insurance. And of course, as the employer, you're expected to verify that dependents qualify and collect supporting documentation. That is for your records. We don't need that documentation here at the consortium, but we rely on you to collect and verify that information to make sure that those dependents actually qualify for health insurance if they're being enrolled on one of our plans. Periodically, we do complete what's called dependent audits. We're just at the tail end of one. So every few years, we do ask each municipality to do a dependent audit to make sure that we're covering the people who should be covered under the plan. You know, life changes happen and things like that, where it can change who should be covered under the plan. So in order to enroll or make changes to that dependents or what plan the employee selects, they would complete an enrollment form. And depending on if you're a small group or a large group, you may submit directly to the consortium, which all those enrollment forms are submitted through our confidential portal that comes to me for processing. Or if you're one of our larger groups or you self-administer through Excellus, you would do your own data entry into Excellus. Our website should be one of your #1 resources. You should have this as one of your bookmarks on your favorite pages. I pretty much visit our website on a daily basis for information, just because it has easy access to everything you're looking for. This is where you can find benefit summaries, premium rates, access enrollment forms, look up our wellness program information. We also post all of our committee meetings, our agendas, our minutes. We record all of our meetings. So if you really want to sit through a whole bunch of YouTube videos, you can watch all of our meetings. We just hosted our annual board of directors meeting last week. So that should be posted soon to our website. We also have a quarterly newsletter. We went paperless at the beginning of this year. So if you are not receiving our newsletter and want to subscribe to that, you can visit our website to subscribe. Our newsletter is a great resource. We post updates about what's going on with our plans, new legislation where we've had to follow, which we'll talk about in a little bit, to adapt our plans to the new legislation that may have come out. We post about our wellness program. We kind of like our bragging rights for our municipalities who really participate in our wellness program. So definitely a great resource to have coming into your email inbox. So I know that when I sit through training, sometimes I get a little bored just listening to someone talk the whole time. So I have put in a few polls, and we'll kick off the first one now. Okay, so this poll, and I ask you to reply with an answer, but is where can you find your municipality's enrollment form on your website? So you would, if you're used to our website, you should know where to go find your enrollment forms. And if not, I'll give you the answer in just a second. But the first one is Employee Retiree and Wellness Information tab, Municipal Resource tab, or Governance tab. And I'll just give you a moment to reply. And there was a comment in the chat saying that you tried to visit our website this morning. And honestly, I just found out this morning that it was down. It was up all weekend, I swear. But it should be up by the end of today. All right, so I am going to end the poll.
Give me one of them.
And a majority of you
as faculty members still may just need
Sunday, I think
over
you're
to the
unmuted and we can hear everything you're saying, just so you know. So the end result was, as everyone said, Municipal Resource tab. So let's see if you're right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, but she's inactive, so she just needs to be activated in Evolution.
1 second, guys. I'm going to mute Sunday for her. There we go. Okay, so yes, you can find your enrollment forms under the Municipal Resource tab. So if you kind of hover over the tab, it'll create this drop-down menu on our website where you can go to Subscriber Enrollment Form portal. When you click on that, it's not going to take you right to the portal. It's going to take you to a page that has every municipality listed, and you can pull your enrollment forms from there. For our new municipal members, we hope to have those posted in the next week, so you have them available. Since we already have group numbers created for you according to Brandon and Excellus, which is awesome. So we are well on our way to having your resources posted there too. This is a great place to print fresh enrollment forms. A lot of times when I get scanned copies, it's like a copy of a copy of a copy, and they can get fuzzy, they can get grainy. We did update our enrollment forms 2 years ago. So if you're still using the really old ones, there are some new forms out there to check out. Or sometimes it's just nice to have if you have an employee who's enrolling a large family. The original enrollment form only has 3 spots for dependents, and maybe they need 5 or 6. You can just print an extra page of the dependent page to add to the form. So everything's all together rather than filling out 2 whole enrollment forms and putting them together. But definitely a great resource to have as we head into open enrollment. Each enrollment form is specific to each municipality. So if you're offering platinum and gold, that's the only plans that are going to show up on your enrollment form. Only the plans that your municipality is offering are on your specific enrollment form, not all plans being offered through the consortium. So submitting enrollment forms, if you currently are doing your direct data entry into the Excellus website, you would continue to do that. But for open enrollment, you would put the effective date of January 1 to start the coverage. And then you would select reason for change. It wouldn't be new hire or, left employment. It would be open enrollment or annual election period. If you submit your enrollment forms to the consortium, you would still go to that same area, Municipal Resources, Subscriber Enrollment Form. When you click into the page, at the top of the page in the first bullet, as I kind of show here at the bottom, it says Subscriber Enrollment Form Portal. You click on that and it takes you to the portal to submit enrollment forms. If anyone has any questions about how to submit through our portal, feel free to give me a call or email me directly. We don't require any passwords anymore. We tried to make it as uncomplicated as possible to send enrollment forms, but we really do ask that you submit them through our portal and not emailing me directly, because our portal helps protect all the HIPAA information that the enrollment forms contain, like dates of birth and all of that. We want to make sure that's protected as possible. So it's best to submit any changes through the portal and not direct email. The other thing that I get asked for a lot during open enrollment is benefit summaries. So if someone's changing plans, maybe they want to compare benefits, or maybe they just want to know what copay rates are for certain benefits they're receiving now. Our 2023 benefit summaries are currently posted on our website. You would just go to the Employee Retiree and Wellness Information tab, hover over it, drops down to this, go to Plan Information by Municipality. Each municipality has their own link, and you'd be able to access the 2023 benefit summaries by clicking on your municipality's link. Only the plans that you currently offer are there with the benefit summaries. If you're making changes for 2024, those will be posted soon. The other thing is 2024 benefit summaries don't normally come out till November or December, so they may not even come out until after open enrollment. We are making changes to our gold and silver plan, which I will go over in a little bit. But other than that, the benefit summaries remain the same for our platinum, our bronze, our classic blue plans, our PPO plans are all remaining the same for 2024 for benefits. So it's safe to use the 2023 benefit summaries to kind of give those out to people if you feel like they need them. And just a heads up, we post our benefit summaries and our summary of benefits, and they are not the same thing. So benefit summaries are really like simplified. If you're going to your PCP, this is the in-network, this is the out-of-network. A summary of benefits is more of a narrative, so it's written in sentence format. Some people prefer the summary of benefits. I prefer the benefit of summaries because it's just cut and dry and I can see what my copays are. But some people prefer the summary of benefits because it gives examples of claims and how those, what those expected costs would be. So feel free to check out both. Every municipality has both posted for each plan you have available. So as I talked about, we have some upcoming plan changes. First, I want to talk about one that happened very late in 2022. We did follow the legislation that came down for it, kicking off in January 2023. But it was legislation by New York State mandating a frozen drug formulary. So prior to this legislation, our drug formulary would follow protocol of updating every January and July of each year. Due to this new Senate bill, you're no longer allowed to make any negative changes to a formulary mid-year. So you can make those changes before the new year kicks off. So there'll be updates January 2024, but there can be no negative impact. So what does that mean? We can still add new medications to our formulary as they're released and approved by the FDA. It just means, for example, we can't move a drug that's on a tier 2 level to a tier 3 level, because that would be a negative impact, a higher cost to the employee or the enrollee. You also can't remove a medication from the formulary unless for some reason the FDA has recalled the medication and saying to remove it entirely. You also can't, when you add new medications, you can add it with a prior authorization, because normally those are more expensive name brand medications that are being added to the formulary, but you can't add prior authorizations or quantity limits to a medication that didn't have one starting in January. You can't add that later on in the year. So no negative impact to the formulary throughout the year, which of course will result in an increase in prescription medication costs to the consortium. But it definitely makes it easier and consistent to discuss with enrollees about what tier their medication is. It's not due to shift in July or things like that any longer. Those changes just come out every January. But we did have some questions about why our website still has the January formulary, because we would normally update it in July as well. And this is why. We no longer have a July formulary. It's the January formulary carried on through. All right, I'm keeping you on your toes. And I have another poll for you, so just bear with me. Okay, So the next poll question is, in the last 5 years, what has been the average premium increase for consortium health insurance plans? Has it been 5.75, 4.60%, 5.25%, or 6.25%? I'll just give you a minute to answer that one. Okay, the numbers have kind of stabilized, so I'm gonna end the poll and see where we are. So 20% of you said it was 5.75%, 37% said 4.6, 40% said 5.25, and 3% said 6.25%. This is the last 5-year average of our premium rate increases. And the answer is 5.75%. So this chart to the right shows you our premium rate increases by the fiscal year. So in 2024, our premium rates will be increasing by 8%, which overall, when you look at our history, we've averaged a premium increase for the last 5 years of 5.75% and an overall average since the inception of the consortium of 6.25%, which when we compare to the standard meta level plans, this is just some of our plan comparison, but when we compare our premium rates of 2023 to the 2023 rates of Excellus and their standard meta level plans, you can see that our rates still fall drastically lower, still offering a great benefit, but at a lower cost. And really that is what the consortium is all about, is rate stability and keeping those costs low for our municipalities. But this was discussed and voted on at our board of directors meeting. So I did want to make the benefit clerks aware, if your directors didn't come back to the municipality and let you know, we are looking at an 8% rate increase for 2024. So these are our new, this is not all the plans by any means. Our finance manager, Terry, will be getting out the new premium rates to all of our municipal members within the next week or two, because some of you obviously are on different plans besides just meta level and our Medicare sub plans. But here is our new rates for 2024 for platinum, gold, silver, bronze, and our 2 Medicare supplement plans. And please keep in mind, if you're scurrying to write these numbers down, I will email out this whole presentation to you either later today or tomorrow, so you have all this information right in front of you. I'm not going to read you every number though. So part of our plan changes have to do with our actuarial value calculated. So for meta level plans, we have to stay within the ranges set by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services. So meaning, for example, our platinum plan should be right around 90%, but it can go up an extra 2% or down an extra 2%. So right now our platinum plan is falling in an actuarial value of 91.78%. So we do not need to make any plan changes to the platinum plan this year, but because we're still in that range from CMS. Where we fell out of range is with our gold and our silver plans. Our gold and our silver plans were higher than the actuarial value limits set by CMS. So we had to make adjustments to the benefits in order to fit back within those ranges. See, Ellen's answering questions in the chat as I'm just talking along, so that's great.
You just keep talking, Kylie. I'll keep writing.
Sounds great. So for our silver plan updates, if you are a municipality on our silver plan, you will see an increase to the in and out of network deductibles, as well as the in and out of network maximum out of pockets. So anything in the purple is what the 2023 deductibles and maximum out of pockets were, and anything in the blue is where they're headed to. So for 2024, the silver deductibles are going to be $3,000 and $6,000 in network, with a maximum out of pocket of $7,500 for individual and $15,000 for family. Also, the out-of-network co-insurance was increased from 50% to 60% for 2024. Are there any questions on the silver plan updates for 2024? Okay, I'm going to scoot right on to gold. Gold plan updates are also experiencing an increase on their in and out of network deductibles, as well as their in and out of network maximum out of pockets. So once again, in the purple is where we are at in 2023, and the ones in the blue is where we're headed for 2024. So the gold plan will see an $1,800 single deductible, $3,600 family deductible for in-network, and the maximum out of pocket for in-network is $3,600 for single and $7,200 for family. There is no change in the co-insurances for in and out of network with the gold plan. So it will continue at that 80% coverage for in-network and 60% coverage for out-of-network once the deductibles are met. Any questions on the gold plan updates for 2024? And all other benefits are remaining the same. So platinum, bronze, and everything else is remaining the same for 2024. So I know at our board of directors meeting, we kind of rambled through a list of upcoming documents that we're going to need signed by municipalities. And I always like to, have a visual of a timeline of when things are due. So this is more for the benefit clerks of a timeline of when documentation may be due back to the consortium. So earlier this year, I believe in July, we presented on the new Aetna Medicare Advantage plans that are being offered through the consortium. If you are a municipality that's interested in picking that up for 2024 with a start date of January 1, we would need to know of your interest by the end of this week, September 29th. If you are a municipality that's looking to make plan changes, or maybe you're shifting from gold to platinum or things like that, we would need you to submit a plan addition change form, which I can send out with this packet. And we would need those submissions by October 15th. I know that's a Sunday, so we've been telling people October 13th, which is a Friday. This is to allow us time to work with Excellus to build that into your plan structure for your group, and to have that plan available for open enrollment and to be able to shift people over. So they'll get their new cards in time mid-December, so they can update their providers in January. So it all affects a timeline down the road with establishing these due dates. Now, as we discussed, open enrollment or annual election period is November 1st through November 30th. We also, our joint committee wanted to look at alternative supplements to mental health care and employee needs. So we did research different EAP programs and negotiated pricing with ESI EAP. We did an informational session on that at the end of August. And I have some municipalities who have been reaching out with questions or interest. And any of those interests and emails to me talking about, yeah, I want to pick this up for January 1 for all my employees, I would need those by November 17th. But just to get that on your radar, EAP is separate from healthcare. It is an additional benefit you can offer your employees. We at the consortium went out and just negotiated pricing because we are a larger group to hopefully offer that at a more affordable rate to all of our municipal members. There was a question in the chat: what is the cost of the EAP per employee? It depends on how many groups join. So I believe the minimum is $20 some, and I can send that to you. is 20 some dollars per employee, but the more people that join, the lower the rate becomes. And if you are one of the new municipalities that is moving to ESI EAP, I connect you over with Doug Peterson. He's our main contact at ESI EAP. And he would provide you rollout materials, informational sessions. They really are great at communicating to their members that have joined with them. So I see Denise put in the chat about how are we getting some of this information. So I can definitely connect you over to Doug to make sure that you have all the materials you need to roll that out to your employees. But this is a direct contract that you would be making with ESI EAP. We kind of are just the middlemen to know who's joining, so we know what rate they'd be charging you, but the contract is through the municipality directly to ESI EAP. Are there any other questions on the ESI EAP? Okay. And then December is when everyone gets their new cards. And everyone who is enrolled, whether they're changing benefits or not, will be sent a new card this year because we are changing our prescription benefit manager from ProAct to Excellus, which means, and Brandon will go over this a little bit, on the ID cards, that information that the pharmacy needs will be changing. So we need to make sure to be educating our employees, educating our enrollees, that you're going to get a new card. And when you get your new card, you need to make sure at the beginning of January to get that to your pharmacy at a minimum. We're telling everyone update all your providers, but the pharmacy is the important part. The other thing that's going to be rolling out to municipalities is Lynn, our clerk of the board, is going to be emailing out MCAs that need to be signed, and then a resolution needs to be passed through your governing body. Those will be due back to us in December. They should be headed your way in the next week or two, but just a heads up. I know that I have amazing benefit clerks that are great at following up on stuff, and sometimes there's a lot of emails that come from us to our directors and things get lost in the shuffle. So just giving you a heads up on these signatures and resolutions that we'll need back in the coming months. An MCA is a municipal cooperative agreement. It's signed by every single one of our municipal members, and it has to be signed every year, not because we say so, but because Department of Financial Services tells us it is so. So we do what they tell us to do. So unfortunately, we do need these signed every year. And we did discuss this at the board of directors meeting with all the directors. So they had a heads up that the emails would be coming out and that we would need their signatures. And then in January is when everything changes. So it's when everyone starts using their new cards. It's when we start in with our new PBM. And it's when our new municipal members start with coverage with us. So if there's any questions or concerns in January, I hope you're reaching out to me. That's what I'm here for, to problem solve, to hopefully work with our contracts and our TPAs to get things fixed as quickly as possible if there are issues. So please do not hesitate to reach out to me if you're experiencing any issues, or even if it's as simple as I need a new member ID card for an employee and I can't figure out how to get it. Just let me know and I'll help you take care of it. And this is just a future heads up. In February, we normally send out, we'll be expecting to get back our code of ethics. So every director that we have needs to sign off on that as well. That comes from Lynn as well, and she directly emails the people. But sometimes I might call a benefit clerk to remind people to get that signed. So just a heads up to get that on your radar. The other thing, because we cover a whole bunch of municipalities who some of our directors are elected officials, you know, changeover happens where people are shifting jobs and roles in the municipality. So if there's ever a time throughout the year that you need to contact us and let us know that there should be someone new, or you want to, you know, you want to put someone else in the benefit clerk role or someone else in the finance role so they get the emails for the invoices, we actually have an online form on our website. Under municipal resources, it's all the way at the bottom. It's our contact update form. When you click on it, it goes right into this form to complete, to let us know who our primary contact should be, or if it's changing. I do know we have a few directors that are retiring at the end of this year. So kind of knowing who might be stepping into their role for the municipality. And for certain positions like the board of directors and the joint committee positions, we need that in either a resolution or correspondence from the chief elected official from your municipality. But I always like to reiterate this form because it really makes it easier for us to update our contact list, update our email list to make sure that we're reaching the right people for the right meetings and updates and information. Okay, so billing quick tips. I normally throw Terry under the bus, but she's not with us today. So instead, I hounded her to give me some of her top tips that she would give municipalities who are either new to us as new members or maybe new to the role as a finance person for their municipality, just so they're aware of some of the billing things and how the consortium works with billing. And if you have questions, I will do my best to answer, but I might throw Elin under the bus to answer as well. Okay, so first tip is she's like, every bill I send a full roster, and it does help to check that roster every month to make sure that enrollments are showing up and terminations are showing up. So if you look under the column that has contract type, if you see a number 1, that means it's single coverage. Any other number means it's family coverage, just to give you an idea of where she's pulling then the premium rates from. It's based on that enrollment. So if you have an employee that maybe went through a divorce and took their spouse off their insurance, but they're not showing up as single, that can affect your billing. So if you find a subscriber is missing or not yet terminated, you can always verify. If you do direct data entry with Excellus, you can go on their website, log in and check to see if the update happened there. Or you can always check with me and I can verify if the changes have been entered. We always bill 2 months in advance. So if you entered a termination 2 days before it was supposed to happen, it may not be showing up on your bill yet. It's always important to not short pay a monthly bill. Pay as it is, and then we credit it back on the next bill or the bill after that, since it's 2 months in advance. But we always provide those credits. But short paying results in issues with the billing where you short paid and maybe it was miscalculated, or you short paid and you're still waiting for that credit to balance it out. So it's easier to pay the bill as it's sent, and then at the next bill cycle, you'll see that credit on your bill.
So let me just explain a little bit, because everybody always asks, why do you do this? We are billed from Excellus for administrative fees, and we are trying to reconcile your bill against the Excellus bill. And if you start short paying, we have to pay the Excellus bill in full, and then we get the credit from Excellus and back that out. So it's just a bookkeeping nightmare for us because of the domino effect of how we pay our third-party administrators. And that's why we do it. That's the main reason why we do it. So we're not trying to be difficult. We're trying to make sure that we pay our vendors properly, we get credit from our vendors properly, and give you credit properly. So that's just a really short background of why we do it the way we do. I know it's frustrating to a lot of people, and but if you pay each bill as it is, you can always reconcile your bills with the check, and we can do the same thing on our end.
The other thing I'd like to make you aware of too is if you don't notice that a termination hasn't processed, we can only reimburse back up to 120 days per our policies at the consortium. So backdating beyond that really is a process with Excellus, requiring additional documentation and a whole bunch of things. So the roster is the easiest way to check that monthly with your bill to make sure that the terminations and enrollments are being are showing accurate on that roster, because Terry pulls the rosters directly from Excellus. So if there's an error, we can then backtrack and fix it right away. But the longer that we don't know about the error, the more steps are involved in fixing it. The other quick tip is to make sure that when you have an employee and they have a spouse, that they're being enrolled in family coverage, that they're not being enrolled into individual single coverage plans. Medicare supplement plans are the exception, but you know, if you are, to be more cost effective, they're not actually an employee, so they really shouldn't have their own individual plan. It should be the employee plus the spouse is a dependent on a family coverage. So, but in addition, I know a lot of our municipalities where it is the employee and spouse who both are employees. If they're both employees, they both could have individual plans rather than being on a family plan. Terry always likes me to throw this out there, so I'm gonna say it. The consortium does have an ACH capability, so if your municipality would prefer to make payments that way versus paper checks, which take longer to get in the mailbox and be processed, she's more than willing to take ACH payments. She just needs a remittance to know that you've sent the payment that way. And another heads up that we pull our Excellus billing around the 14th, give or take a day or two. So if you're processing terminations and enrollments after that date, they may not appear on the bill you're getting. They may appear a bill later. So just a heads up to keep the kind of that date in the back of their mind, like, oh, I have an employee starting October 2nd, so I'm gonna get that enrollment form in prior to the 14th to make sure that the bill can be as accurate as possible. And then Terry's direct email is right here for you if you ever need to email her billing questions. You're more than welcome to email me, but I gotta tell you, I just email it to Terry to get the real answers, because I do not process the billing. She is our finance manager and really our go-to when it comes to numbers and billing. But these are a few billing quick tips just to have in mind as we head into the new year, because I know we don't always go over how the consortium bills, and it's just good information to review. Any questions on billing? Okay, I'm going to make sure everyone's awake and give you another poll. I promise it's the last one. So let me go ahead and launch this. Do you always need social security numbers to enter plan enrollments? True or false? And this is kind of a trick question, so let's see how we do. I'll give you a minute to answer here. Okay. I'm going to end the poll. So 49% said true, 51% said false. So we're neck and neck here. All right, as I warned you, it's a trick question. So if you have newborns and their insurance would start the date of their birth, you do not need social security numbers to start them on health insurance. They are the only exception. Everyone else, yes, we need social security numbers to enter their enrollment. But newborns, we do not need social security numbers, because as we all know, social security is not exactly snappy at getting those numbers out, and the child may need coverage right away, especially for those, 100 well visits I feel like they make you do for newborns when they first come into this world. So newborn coverage does not need social security numbers. The other tip that one of our veteran benefit clerks gave us a couple of years ago is, it's always a struggle if they're out on maternity or paternity leave to get these enrollment forms completed to get that newborn on coverage. So one of the tips was to have the enrollment form completed ahead of time with the date of birth left blank. So all that the employee needs to do is call in and give the date of birth to the benefit clerk, and then they can complete the enrollment for the newborn to have that start at the date of birth. Otherwise, if we wait till the person comes back from maternity or paternity leave, it could be multiple months that the newborn is going without coverage, which then would affect billing, but also will affect and create claims issues for the employee for the child who's probably already been at the doctor 1 or 2 times prior to returning from leave. So just a nice, good tip to have when processing newborns, if you're aware that it's, upcoming leave. So what else has been happening with us? Like, that wasn't enough information. So the consortium has been rather busy this past year, kind of looking at new ways to be more efficient or offering more benefits to our members. So, and I do have Brandon and Dan here with me who will present on these topics more in detail than I'm going to give you right now, but this is the overview. So one of the things we found with COBRA administration, which we have to offer COBRA to any employee leaving health insurance coverage, it is a federal law. We rely on our municipalities to offer that coverage. And at times we found that our small groups were inconsistent on administering notices or following up with COBRA coverage. And our smaller municipalities don't have an entire HR department to manage this. So it is a lot put on to our smaller municipalities. And the consortium and its committees decided that a better way to administer COBRA was for the consortium to work with Lifetime Benefit Solutions to administer this benefit for all of our small groups. And we'll go over who those people are in just a second. This way, all we have to do is enter a termination, and Lifetime Benefit Solution issues out those notices that are needed to make the offer, assist with the billing to the ex-employee, collect those funds and everything else. So definitely a lot less work for our municipalities. And this will start January 1, 2024. But Dan, who is here from Lifetime Benefit Solutions, will be going into that a little bit later on our call. So these are all of our small group municipal members. Anyone in gold is actually new members starting in 2024. So we just wanted to give them a heads up as well that they're part of this new administration. So this is only for small groups. Our larger groups typically either contract out or are very successful in managing their own COBRA benefits. But we also included small groups, so less than 50 enrollees, who may also do direct entry into Excellus. So we wanted to make sure that we're clear that we would no longer be doing, if you're doing it on Excellus's website, you would be moving from A class to C class for COBRA. We're no longer doing that. We're just doing terminations, and then Lifetime Benefit Solutions and Excellus work together, offer the COBRA, enroll the COBRA, and process. And then you would receive notice that someone is enrolled in COBRA. Another feature that we kind of touched on a little bit earlier is the EAP program. This has negotiated pricing, and of course I can send out that proposal again that has the pricing in it, but just making sure that if you're interested in either moving from your current EAP program to this EAP program or adding EAP as one of your additional benefits to your employees, let me know by November 17th. One of the reasons we kind of this program was picked is because it's not just about supporting mental health, it's supporting, it offers a wide variety of services like financial planning, caregiving support, childcare support. It can help you with advanced care planning, will writing, helps you find local resources when you may have hit roadblocks. So really is looking at the whole employee and trying to support them in what their needs are at any given moment. So really a great program to have available for your employees. I did put it in here. Yeah, I knew someone would ask about pricing. So the starting pricing is $23.40 per employee, but as you can see, it drops down for the EAP program as the consortium has more of its municipal members join the program. And this is just kind of a brief overview, but there is so much available through their coaching, their online resources, their monthly email updates, that they really do provide a lot of support. Thank you, Elin, for posting the website link and that it's back up and working.
Can you answer Sarah's question? I don't know about the pricing.
Sarah said we're definitely in, which she's part of Tompkins County, and we're over 500, so it's going to be at least that rate. So when we asked Dan about this, he said that he, for existing members, they may not count the full enrollment since they already have you as a client towards the consortium numbers. So we're still waiting to see what feedback we get from the other municipalities to see where our numbers lie for total enrollment. But you know, 23 to 22. But yes, anything below 23 is still a welcome surprise. I just had an email from a benefit clerk looking at this program, and she goes, if you're telling me it might be less, I'm fine with that. I'll just go with the higher number for budget purposes. And if it's less, it's even better. The other thing that Lifetime Benefit Solutions offers is discounted negotiated rates for a whole bunch of other services. So for FSAs, HRAs, HSAs, this is not a service the consortium provides, but it is nice to have that lower group rate for all of our municipal members. Okay, Sunday said, is there a limit on the number of visits per employee for the EAP? I'm assuming you're asking about. So there is up to 3 face-to-face sessions per issue per year per employee. So, you know, if you have multiple issues, each issue gets its own kind of visit limit. That's a visit limit that we kind of set when we wanted to compare across different EAPs. But I'm sure things can be adjustable, but your rate may be shifted if you wanted to add more visits. EAP is not a substitute for mental health counseling. It is a supplement. So if there is an ongoing long-term issue, they try to connect you to services locally that can support any type of long-term issue or need. If it's short-term issues, like maybe you just wanted to look into how do I get a healthcare proxy and have someone answer questions about that. That would be one issue or topic that they would assist with. But I don't believe there's like a set limit of number of issues that an employee could call in on. No. And like I said before, signing up for our newsletter, this is just a great way to stay connected with us. Maybe you don't serve on one of our committees, but you want to kind of know what stay in the now of the consortium. Our newsletters are a great way to do that. They're issued out quarterly via email. And feel free to subscribe if you haven't already. I know a lot of people on our committees have already subscribed to our newsletter. We also, as part of our wellness program, our Facebook really focuses in on those wellness topics. So at the beginning of every month, we email out a wellness email, and it has a topic or theme for the month. So for example, September is Fall Prevention Month. So as part of that theme, it's about decluttering your space, making a healthy work environment and home environment, as well as decluttering your mind and stress reliever tactics and things like that. So the email is very short, you know, just brief topics, a few hyperlinks to visit if people are interested, talking about our declutter challenge for September and signing up for that and upcoming events. But if you're looking to dive in deeper to any of our wellness topics, our Facebook page is really where to go. We hope to increase up to 100 followers by 2024. I think we're right now at 89 after the board of directors meeting. So I'm hoping you'll check out our Facebook page and become one of our followers. But great information. We do videos, we do articles, we do interactive things on our Facebook page to really promote that wellness and try to connect directly to our enrollees. So as a municipality that gets those emails, we would hope you would forward those to your employees once a month so they are aware of the challenges. We really try to do some great prizes that go with it, like a New York State Empire Pass or $100 Wegmans gift card, things that can promote, activity, healthy eating, things like that. And we try not to ask too much of the employees for participation because we know fitting one more thing into their busy day may not always be conducive, but could help them in the long run with preventative health and wellness. So please check out our Facebook page and see what we've been going on up to there. There's some great photos too. We did in August, Eat Fresh, Buy Local, where people are sending in photos of their healthy meals they're eating. June, we did a hiking challenge where employees were able to send in photos of themselves or pictures of nature with them out in it, which was great. So just a great way to interact with our members. All right, at this point, are there any questions about all of that information? I'm gonna hop off screen share here so I can actually see people. Okay, so I know that most of you have probably come to hear all about our new PBM for 2024. Brandon Holt is our Excellus account manager. He does a wonderful job of keeping us straight. We have quite a humongous group structure to keep everyone straight and on track, and he does a great job. So we invited Brandon here today to kind of go over what that transition will look like from PROACT to Excellus, steps that have been put in place to try to ease that transition for your employees. So I'm going to turn it over to Brandon.
Thanks, Kylie. Good morning, everybody. I'm just gonna attempt to share my screen here quickly, go over some important topics, tips. Can everybody see my screen?
Looks
Awesome.
great.
So we're super excited to be partnering with the consortium on this change. Been working with Kylie and Elin and Terry, obviously on the medical side for the last couple of years, and have been talking about this, and it just got approved just last week at the board. So we're ready to go. Already kind of doing some groundwork on our side in the back end to get everything going. So just joining you guys today to go over some things. Most of what I'm going to talk about is going to be member focused or employee focused. So as benefit clerks, if you have questions from your members, you'll have some awareness in terms of what's going on, and can answer those questions for them. So obviously moving the drug or pharmacy benefit over to us for 2024. Just kind of what we're going to go through today, and certainly at the end I can answer any questions. I also have Jen Bartel, who's one of our pharmacy consultants, on as well in case there's any questions we can help to answer. So we'll talk about customer care, digital resources that are available, touch on mail order and specialty, RX, ID cards, and some member communications that'll be going out, and then just kind of some other important things to consider or know. So when it comes to customer care, customers or employees would have to call PROACT in the past to get the questions answered about the prescription drug benefit. Come 2024, they're going to call into Excellus, and it will be the same customer care number that they're used to calling today for any questions with their medical plan benefits. So I have the number here on the screen. It's on the ID card as well, so nothing's going to change other than instead of calling two places, the member can just call one customer service number and get their questions answered for both medical and pharmacy benefits, which will hopefully be, a little more convenient for your employees in terms of getting questions answered for their health plan. And then when we talk about digital resources, obviously creating an online account at excellusbcbs.com. We want everyone to have one of those and feel that it's important. Some members may already have one. So they don't need to re-register or anything with the change to prescription drug. I'm really just including this for those that may not have one, and may find it helpful. Just kind of a quick, rundown of what you can do and where to go to register. Once registered, having access to that account, this is kind of just some stuff that I listed here from a pharmacy perspective. Obviously, there's much more that you can do both on the medical side as well. But members will be able to view their pharmacy benefits and coverage, search claims, find a pharmacy location that's in network, obviously view their ID card, which they can today, estimate out-of-pocket costs, track deductible out-of-pocket spending or expenses, those types of things. So calling one number for customer care to get questions answered, again, kind of the same thing on the digital side. Members will be able to just go to one online account to view their prescription drug and medical plan information online. And this is just kind of a screenshot of once they're in there, where to find that information. If you're logged in as a member, under the prescription tab, kind of drops down and gives you those different options that I was just referring to in terms of what they can do. So pretty self-explanatory there. Members can kind of self-service and hopefully find what they need. If not, obviously they can call the customer care line and speak with a representative if they prefer to do that as well. And then the mobile app, again, hopefully members are engaged, have an online account, are have downloaded the mobile app and have that as well. If not, just another resource to use from a digital perspective for members to get access to information. All the things that you can do that I just spoke about with an online account, you can do through the mobile app too. So just kind of reiterated that here as well.
Hey, Brendan, have they,
Yes.
this is Denise from the city, have they made that change to see if we can get insurance cards for the family members in their own name? We can go in and get it for the member, but we can't get it for the individual family members. Have that change been made yet?
Not yet. I know that that's hopefully a future change that they're looking to make, because that question did come up, and I don't know if it was from you, Denise, or just somebody else, but we had talked about that over the summer, Kylie and Elin and the team and my team, and we checked, and not a functionality yet, but hoping that in the future that will be an improvement that we'll make on that end. Just kind of so you're aware on that point, for dependents can still use the subscriber's ID card. So it's all the same information. I know that we issue cards to dependents, but they don't necessarily need to use their own card, say when they go to the doctor. If you have a son or a daughter, they get issued their own card that has their own name on it. If you went to the doctor with your card as the parent, that's all the same information. It would still work, just so you're aware. So even if you wanted to order extra ID cards for them, doesn't necessarily have to be the one that is for them with their name on it. You could just order a duplicate subscriber ID card and it would work just the same for the dependents. Good question though. When we look at mail order prescriptions, so mail order is an option that's available as I believe it is today. We utilize Wegmans and Express Scripts for our mail order prescription service. So you're free to use either one of those services. Very easy to use. I use Express Scripts myself. Things come very quickly. Shipping is free. I think most of the time, I don't think I've ever paid for shipping. Comes very quickly. It's very convenient. Again, Wegmans just another option as well to utilize. Have the websites and the numbers listed here on the screen for members to be able to call, set up mail order if they're used to, or it's something that they want to consider moving forward. When we talk about specialty,
I'm gonna ask the
Okay.
question because no one else did, and I know you know the answer. So if they're with Proact Mail Order Pharmacy and they want to get set up with Excellus Mail Order Pharmacy and they pick one or the other, what do they need to do that?
they'll need their information, obviously, their prescription drug, their member ID card, which will have all the prescription drug information on it, and either call or go to the websites that are provided to sign up for the mail order, and you'll need your prescription information as well.
And then the scripts will automatically be transferred, or Excellus can request the scripts from Proact?
Jen, do you know the answer to that?
So I do know Wegmans will actually call either the provider or the pharmacy to get the scripts transferred. Express scripts, I'm not sure. I think they may do the same thing, but they typically will try to help facilitate that transfer of the prescription.
Great.
And then when we talk about specialty medication, the new prescription drug plan will require you to purchase, or members to purchase, specialty medications through our specialty pharmacy network in order to receive coverage. We partner with Accredo and Noble for specialty medications. Noble Health Services is an arm of Proact. It is their specialty drug PBM. We work with them as well. So it's fairly likely that if any members today are on a specialty medication, it is probably through Noble with Proact. They can continue to utilize that service, which would be nice for them if they like it and they're used to it. There's no disruption there. They would just need to, simply notify Noble of the updated insurance information to make sure that on Noble's end they have the up-to-date prescription drug information that they need, and then the member should be good to go. If for whatever reason, they're not happy with Noble or are coming into, getting a specialty drug prescribed to them brand new, they would have the option to choose Accredo or Noble to get that medication filled.
There are a couple questions in the chat. So if there is a lag in transferring, will a member be able to pick up a prescription at a retail pharmacy for at least the first month?
For specialty?
Mail order.
Yeah, I mean, a member can, there's no, mail order is not mandatory. So a member can continue to fill at the pharmacy if they would like. So they can fill as many prescriptions at the pharmacy within, obviously, reason before transferring to mail order, if that answers the question.
The next question is, so does that mean that members can only fill their scripts in person at a Wegmans?
No, that's a mail order pharmacy. So Wegmans has no bearing on, where you're filling your prescription now in terms of in person. We just utilize Wegmans for their mail order pharmacy program.
So just to let everyone know, we did a disruption report when we were looking at going with Excellus ESI. There were minimal disruptions on where you are currently getting your prescription filled. Most of the minimal disruptions were out of state. And they were usually a one-time fill, primarily for flu shots. So there will not be, I'm still going to CVS. My neighbor who's covered on the consortium is still going over to Walmart to fill theirs. All the large pharmacies, including Guinea's, is still on our list for drugs to be filled. So still really robust. That was very important to us that all of the retail stores for our members were still available to them. And then there's some other questions for you, Brandon.
Okay, can you read them to me, Kylie? Because I can't see.
I was in the same boat you are. What is considered a specialty drug?
Specialty drugs are drugs that are, I don't know, Jen, if you want to answer that question, what is considered a specialty drug, but they're either specialty drugs or they're not. If a member is on a specialty drug, they probably are aware of what it is. Jen, I don't know if you want to give kind of a quick definition of maybe what a specialty drug is.
Sure. Specialty drugs are really just the higher cost medications are typically biologics. A couple of examples you might be familiar with, like Humira is considered a specialty drug. Ozempic, Stelara, those are specialty drugs. And with your benefit design, all specialty drugs need to be filled at a specialty pharmacy. Brandon was just reviewing the two that we primarily partner with. One was Accredo and one is Noble. That is just where you have to get your specialty medications from. And again, we're talking a very, very small number of individuals that are on specialty medications. But I don't know if that helps.
It does. I guess I wasn't sure. I've never truly understood what was considered a specialty drug, what fell in that category. I mean, I get the idea they're obviously the more expensive ones, but what is it really just the super expensive scripts and not necessarily every tier 3 script?
Correct. They can fall on tier 2. We even have some on tier 1.
Okay.
So it's not just associated with cost, it's how they're made. We do have
Okay.
a list that includes all of our specialty medications that have to be purchased through one of those specialty pharmacies. That's also on our website, the tab that Brandon brought up. That list is included. So you can reference that list too if you want the full list.
Now, I was just curious, just because I've never truly understood what fell in that category.
Oh.
Is it anything that requires prior authorization?
No,
Okay. All right.
no,
Just an opportunity, since you're talking about it, to really ask
No,
the
that's
question, because I
fine.
didn't
No,
know.
that's fine.
I've never known what really fell in that category. Thank you for that
certain,
description.
definitely certain specialty medications require prior auth, but not all of them.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The next question was, when can we expect to receive a formulary to see what tier medications are falling in? Hopefully very, very soon. But I'll leave that up to Brandon to answer.
Yeah, I'll kind of cover that in a later slide here, and hopefully that will answer that question for you. Was that the last one?
That was the last one.
Okay.
Brandon, I'm just going to interrupt you for a second because I know some of this stuff is coming later, but anybody who has a disruption in service for any reason, and Brandon will probably name them, is going to get a letter. So if they're having a tier disruption, if they're having a specialty drug disruption, they will get a personalized letter. So we haven't talked about that yet. And Brandon will mention that a little bit later. So I just wanted to trigger that out there.
And another question, do specialty drugs get sent via mail?
Yes.
Yeah, well, they do for Accredo. Noble also does through the mail, but Noble also has an on-site where members can pick up specialty medications. I think it's in East Syracuse. But generally speaking, most specialty medications are shipped.
Good questions. I know it's a change and a lot of change, and people have questions, and this is great. This is the time to bring it up.
The letters, I know you can't see this, Brandon. The letters are coming from Excellus. And one of the things we hope you will do is alert your employees to actually read what's coming through Excellus. People are used to getting EOBs if they're not online and don't open Excellus envelopes. So we really hope after this you'll start communicating. Kylie will send you some information to help you start communicating, but those letters will be coming specifically from Excellus because we don't have access to prescription drug information or medical information for that fact. And we will talk about Canna RX. It is still a thing. So Kylie will cover Canna RX a little bit later.
Yep, keep them coming. And then ID cards. I mean, Kylie mentioned this earlier on in the meeting. All members will receive a new ID card that'll be inclusive of the new pharmacy information. So today, members have one card for ProAct and Excellus. It's an Excellus card with ProAct's information on it. Obviously, with ProAct going by the wayside and Excellus stepping in and taking over the pharmacy benefit, you'll still have a combined card. However, it's going to be different pharmacy information, like Kylie had mentioned earlier in the meeting. So all members, regardless of if they're changing a plan for 2024 or not, will receive a new ID card. So members should be sure to present that new ID card for any prescriptions filled, January 1st or after. You can expect to receive the ID card sometime in December, prior to the start of the new plan year. The plan is to get those, in members' hands, around the middle of December or earlier if we can, depending on kind of when enrollment changes, come in. But very important that members receive those cards, swap out this card with their old card, and then as of January 1st, utilize the new card and this information, especially as Kylie mentioned, with any pharmacies, any prescriptions that are getting filled. This is just an example, a sample card that we kind of created. This is what it will look like. Again, looks very, very similar to what you had before. Prescription copays will be listed on the card. They're not today. And then, as you notice, there's no ProAct information. All of the pharmacy information. If you can see this, I don't know if you guys can see this little hand that I have or not, but on the left-hand side, the RX bin, the PCN, the group, the formulary, all that information is the information that the pharmacy will need to process claims correctly on the prescription drug side.
I think this is the most important thing you can communicate to your employees. I know our phones are going to ring off the hooks at the beginning of the year. For those employees, it looks the same as last year's card. Nobody reads fine print, and you're going to think it's just a replacement card, and your pharmacy already has your Excellus card on file. So why bother giving it to them? That's going to trigger a ton of phone calls to you. How come my prescription drug benefit was canceled? So it wasn't canceled, it was switched to a new provider. So I think this is really important to communicate to employees. And I'm going to answer Brandon's next question. Will dependents get separate cards? That's a new requirement. So from here on forward, when ID cards are mandated to be sent out, the entire population covered under your plan will receive a card. Correct, Brandon?
Yes.
Kylie, can you see the next one regarding communication?
Yeah.
I
So
know-
Jessica asked, will there be a flyer or something we can put in paychecks for the pharmacy change? For sure. I can definitely work with Brandon and get that created. But just so you're aware, and I know he's trying to get to that slide, but in October, Excellus is sending out a welcome letter to all of our members, all our subscribers, with a notice saying, we're your new PBM. You're still with the consortium. You're still on your plan, but welcome to the Excellus PBM. And all of this information, the mail order pharmacy, the specialty pharmacy, customer service phone number, all that information will be in their welcome letter that they're going to get in October. But yes, I can definitely work with Brandon, and we can have a flyer, to give out in your paychecks, which I think is a great idea, to just give everyone an update on this pharmacy change and to check their mail, make sure they're opening anything with an Excellus logo on it.
Yeah, I mean, to Kylie's point, we will, and I'll go over kind of the communications that are going out, but we will be taking all of the subscribers that are part of all of the consortium groups today, and getting a welcome letter out that has all of this information that I'm presenting today on it. So they will receive it directly in the mail. Might be, I think it's a good idea to include something in terms of like a paycheck. Once we get the letter, finalized, which we're very close to having that done, Kylie will have a copy of that as well. Might be helpful if she shares that to keep it on hand, or reach out to her in case a member comes in, has questions. You could simply, print it off and hand it to them, and it should have pretty much everything they need on it. I think with a change like this, I don't think you can really over communicate. So anything I think that each municipality, county, what have you, can do to further that communication, make sure members are receiving it, even though we're sending it in the mail, because to Elon's point, they might just toss it. I think, the more the better. So just kind of keep that in mind as we move through the next few months here. Communications. So this is the slide that we're kind of talking about, communications. So the welcome letter is the one that we were just talking about. All members will receive that general information letter. Again, it's a lot of the same stuff that we just talked about today. I'm just trying to think of what else is on there that we didn't discuss today, but most of the same information. There will also be a tier change letter. So this RX, the welcome letter, the general information letter, is going to go out, like Kylie said, at some point in October to all of the membership that is currently with the consortium today. So everyone will be receiving that letter. Later on in the year, there will be some other letters that members may receive. If there's no impact to them in terms of these letters, they won't receive these letters. So it's fine. They'll just get that first welcome letter. But there will be a tier change letter. So what that is, if members are currently taking a drug, that come January 1st, we'll be moving to a higher tier. Say today the drug is tier 2 at ProAct, and with Excellus it's tier 3, which would move to a higher copay for them. They will be receiving a letter directly in the mail from us. So nothing that you need to do, nothing that the consortium needs to do. We will be getting a kind of a file from ProAct that has the information that we need in order to produce these letters. Same thing that goes with, we call it a non-formulary letter. So members take a drug that will no longer be covered effective January 1st will receive a letter as well. There aren't too many drugs that aren't OTC drugs that aren't going to be covered under Excellus that were covered under ProAct. I think most of these letters are going to be for individuals that are filling OTC medications where ProAct was providing coverage, where we do not cover OTC meds through the pharmacy benefit, nor does the consortium. So members would receive a letter in that case as well. And then the last letter, and there is one more I didn't put on here, but I'll mention it, would be a non-par pharmacy letter. So Elin had mentioned this when we ran the disruption in terms of our pharmacy network versus the current network. I want to say it was over 99% of fills that were happening today are in network with us. So pretty much every pharmacy that you've been going to is going to be participating pharmacy with Excellus. So not too much change there. Most of what we saw was maybe in the southern states, snowbirds, things like that, going down filling in pharmacies that just aren't in our network. Anybody that filled a prescription through a pharmacy that doesn't participate with Excellus will be receiving a letter as well. To Elin's point earlier, most of those fills were just one-time fills. So we went ahead and looked and saw, this member just got a flu shot at this pharmacy down in Florida while they were down there for the winter. They're going to get a letter regardless. So anybody that utilized one of those pharmacies is going to get it, whether it's an ongoing prescription that they fill or just a one-shot deal. And these letters will have information on what members can do, if there is disruption, how to find a pharmacy, talk to their provider in terms of a tier change or non-formulary. So it does give the member kind of steps to follow if they are impacted. And again, if there are any questions, members can call customer care and they can answer the questions there. The only other letter that will be going out, and this is for the new groups. So for those of you that are on that are new to the consortium, we do send out letters to the new enrollees for the new consortium members with their ID cards. So it's a letter that just basically says, welcome to the Greater Tompkins Consortium, and it goes right in with the ID card. So just so you're aware, they wouldn't receive these letters. We don't have that information now, and they wouldn't know, kind of any different moving from, one PBM to another, because they're not. But to Elon's point again, these letters should be carefully read and consider all of the information that's in there. So encourage your members to, if they do receive something in the next few months from Excellus, to open it, read it, take it in, and if they have questions, reach out and get the answers that they need, if anything pertains to them.
Brandon, there are a few questions that we haven't addressed yet. I will address the last one, and then we'll go back up. You just addressed new members, because we don't have the new members' current experience. They'll just get a notification with their ID cards. So I think we answered that. The last question is, can we get the copy of these letters so you can email them out? We will not send any HIPAA information to the municipality. Anything that's a tier change, stuff like that will go directly out from Excellus. That will not go to the HR department. Any generic letters or the boilerplate for the letter, we are more than happy to send to you. We just won't send anything that has personal. Perfect. So we can have all these letters available. I think we're going to finalize those letters this week, and we can send them out to you closer to the time. So one, let's go back to questions. When would participants be able to call and check on their meds if they want to know before letters go out, or if they want to double check in case they might have thrown the letter out thinking it was junk mail?
Well, it'd have to be after the letters were issued, because we don't have the data yet. So, and I don't have a firm date on exactly when that's going to be. We're hoping, I would say the letters in terms of the changes, tier change, pharmacy change, non-formulary change, would hope to go out sometime in November. So after, I guess, any time after that, members should be able to call and get the information that they need.
And I think we already answered, can we be notified when the letters are mailed out?
Well, Elin, I was just wondering, can we be told, I don't want the letters per
Yeah.
se. I was just wondering, can we say there's a letter coming if you have regarding specific tier changes? Please be on the lookout, though, just so we can tell them in an email, look for this to be coming in your mail as another form of communication, so they don't hopefully throw away the letter. They're kind of anticipating it.
We can definitely keep the benefit clerks informed of the timeline of when stuff is going out.
Perfect.
Yep.
Just trying to help keep that communication, the more they hear it, hopefully the easier it will be for them to be mindful and know what to expect in the coming year.
Yep. Agreed.
Were there any other questions hanging out there? No?
I think she hit them all.
Okay. And then just kind of to close, some things to consider. Anytime there's a change like this, we always encourage members that have refills remaining under their current coverage to proactively fill a script before the January 1 change, just to avoid any delays in securing, medication. There shouldn't be an issue. You hope there wouldn't be an issue. However, if you have some refills remaining, fill it before the first of the year, so that way you have extra medication on hand should you need it, should there be any issues whatsoever in terms of the changeover January 1st. Again, be sure to present your new ID card to the pharmacies and providers for any fills January 1st or after. Can't say that enough. getting them that information, even as soon as you have it, in mid-December, letting them know, hey, January 1st, this is my new information, will go a long way in minimizing any, disruption for the members. This is in the letter that will be going out too. There's some information about prior authorization. So members that are currently taking a medication that requires prior authorization may receive a notice from Excellus instructing them, their healthcare provider, to complete and submit our prior authorization form. So with this process, there are drugs that require prior authorization today with your plan under ProAct. Sometimes the prior authorization from drug to drug can be different between TPAs or PBMs. What we're going to try to do is get that information from ProAct directly, whatever information they have, and load those prior authorizations in our system. So if somebody has a prior authorization, they're on a drug currently that requires prior authorization through ProAct, that drug also requires prior authorization through Excellus, and they've already secured that prior authorization, we're going to use that kind of on our end to satisfy that requirement through whatever the end date is currently that they have, on file with ProAct. So that is our plan. That's what we've done in the past with other groups that we've, had the transition over from ProAct. So we fully expect that to happen again. We will get that file sometime later this year just to allow as much time as possible for those prescriptions to get filled, so we have the most current information. We're also going to allow a window at the beginning of the year where prior authorization kind of it gets filled without prior authorization. However, it gets flagged, and then the member will be contacted to say, hey, you filled the drug that requires prior authorization. You need to get prior authorization. If you don't get it by April 1st, you're not going to be able to fill the prescription anymore. So anybody that's taking something new in the beginning of the year that requires prior authorization, it's kind of going to be waived temporarily just through the transition to allow the member to get the drugs, but then they are going to have to still go through that process and get that prior authorization in order to continue taking that medication. And then same with any members that are currently on something at ProAct that doesn't have prior authorization that does for us. When that we see that script come through, they're going to get a notice. So anybody that really has a drug that requires prior authorization where they need to take action, they will get a letter. If they're on a drug that requires prior authorization, but we got everything we need from ProAct, they're not going to receive a letter. So that's why I said they may receive a notice, because we may not have what we need, or we may. So only those that need to take action will receive a letter.
Will Excellus contact the provider for prior authorization, or is the member responsible to do that?
It's a member communication, so it would go to the member. Yep, and they need to work with their provider. And then lastly, CanRx, we talked about that a little bit. That's a program that I know some members currently utilize. Members that are currently receiving medication through CanRx today may continue to do so without interruption. We don't have any sort of formal partnership, necessarily with CanRx. It's a separate thing. I know some members, utilize that service and are getting a benefit from it. So they're, more than welcome to continue to utilize CanRx. This changeover, has no bearing or no impact on that. They can just continue to work with CanRx as they have been. So that is it at a high level. I know we've had some questions throughout. Any last questions for today? I'll stop sharing so I can see the chat, because I thought I saw one pop in here from Jessica. Yes. So it's always going to be their responsibility, whether it's a new drug that they're on, or one that's coming over from ProAct, and that will continue to be the process, in the future as well. If there's a drug that requires prior authorization, they will be, they will be alerted to it and have to go through that process.
Any other questions for Brandon about the PBM? All right. Being conscious of time, I'm going to turn it right over to Dan at Lifetime Benefit Solutions to discuss how in 2024, we're going to rely on Lifetime Benefit Solutions to do our COBRA administration for our small group municipalities. I know this may not affect our large group municipalities, but it might be worth staying on just to hear about the benefits that Lifetime Benefit Solutions has available for that type of administration. But he's going to go over kind of how we're going to handle that, not only with communications out to your previous employees, but also with billing and how all of that will work. So I'm going to turn it over to Dan. Thank you, Brandon.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks so much, everyone. Good afternoon now. Let's see. Can everyone see my screen? Just want to make sure it's showing here.
I don't see a screen share.
Okay. Let's see.
Looks great.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right. So again, my name is Dan Berkey. I am a sales consultant with Lifetime Benefit Solutions. Just before I dive in, I do have a couple of team members from the LBS side as well that have joined the call. I have Mike Day, who is a COBRA team lead. So if there's any specific COBRA related questions that might come up throughout the presentation, he is been with the COBRA team for over 12 years now, so a lot of COBRA knowledge there. So just wanted to make sure that we were getting those questions answered for you. Also, I have Brendan Wellahan, who is a project manager from our implementation team. So they will assist with getting the entire COBRA plan design set up and ready for that January 1st go live date. So just to jump in here, just a quick overview of some of the items to review during the presentation today. Just wanted to give a high-level overview of what COBRA is. Just, if you haven't really had too many members use it, just give you an idea of what COBRA is overall. An LBS COBRA administration. So what is our role in handling the COBRA for each of the municipalities? Also just going to touch on what the role for the Greater Tompkins Consortium will be, and then same with the role for you as the individual benefit clerks for the municipalities. So starting off, what is COBRA? So long version, the Consolidated Omnibus Budget Reconciliation Act. So COBRA for short. It really just gives employees and their dependents an extension of benefits of their group health benefits for a certain period of time if they were to lose coverage through the employer. As I think Kylie mentioned earlier, qualified individuals can be required to pay up to the 102% of the cost to that plan. So diving in, what are some of those qualifying events that a member would be able to elect to continue their coverage through the health plan? So an employee's job loss, covered employee becoming entitled to Medicare, a reduction in work hours, divorce or legal separation, employee's death, or a child's loss of dependent status. So those are all events that would qualify to continue with the COBRA coverage. So just noting it here for each individual qualifying event, who the qualified beneficiaries are for each of those particular events. And then as that was mentioned, for each of these events, you'll have a maximum of 36 months to continue that COBRA coverage. Regardless, 36 months is the maximum that you are allowed to remain covered under COBRA. Beyond that, you would have to look for alternative coverage to enroll into. So LBS's role as the COBRA administrator. So we will handle all of the COBRA related notices that will be going out to members. So that includes the general rights notice. So that is sent to all employees at the beginning of their coverage to let them know that if they were to lose coverage at any point, here's their rights to continue their group health plan coverage through COBRA. The COBRA specific rights notice, that is the election form. If a member terminates and is offered COBRA, they will receive that specific rights notice, and that is where they can elect to enroll in COBRA if they need. Any plan change notices. So if there is a change to the plan at all, so that could be on an annual basis, if there's a change to the rates, members will receive those notices to alert them to any of those plan changes. And lastly, the termination notice. If a member elects to term their coverage, LBS will send out a termination notice to them just to let them know that as of the effective date that they elect, they will no longer have coverage through the municipality's health plan. Also, LBS will continue to bill throughout the members' COBRA eligibility period. So we will send out any required billing that's needed. We'll also collect any of the premium payments. So for those members that enroll in COBRA, LBS will handle and collect those premium payments from those members. We will track any COBRA completion dates. So if there is a member that enrolls through that full 36 months, we will be able to advise them prior to the end of that coverage period that they will begin to need to search for additional coverage options beyond their COBRA period, as that will be expiring. So we will work with those members to ensure that they have enough time to work through and gain additional coverage. Also through LBS, you will have a dedicated COBRA team. So a lot of the things that are mentioned here, they will be able to administer a lot of these day-to-day tasks. They will be assigned and will have high-level knowledge of how the plan is set up in terms of rates, and they will be able to assist with any specific questions that might come up on a day-to-day period. So you will have just that dedicated team that will be able to assist with your plan. So the role for Greater Tompkins as the consortium, we will be providing them with access to our COBRA portal as well as the renewal portal. So they will be able to log in and check any status of a current member that is enrolled. They will be able to be determined if they've, a notice has been sent out, if they've elected, if they, are still pending, we're still waiting to hear information. They'll be able to check the current plans that they're enrolled in, how much time is left that they're able to remain enrolled in COBRA for. So they will be able to view all that information right through the portal. They'll also have access to reporting that would be significant and beneficial through checking any of those current coverages for those members. They'll also have access to the remittance reports, which we'll touch on in just a little bit, as those remittances will be sent over to each of the individual benefit clerks. Also provide any annual rate changes. So if there are changes to those COBRA premiums on an annual basis, that we'll work with the consortium to make any of those updates so that they are ready for the upcoming plan year. LBS will also work to set up any file feeds that is going to bring over any new hire or terminations through the Excellus system. So through those file feeds, any of those new hire informations that will trigger those COBRA general notices that will be sent out to members, as well as the termination information from that file feed that will trigger all of those COBRA election notices that will be sent out. So things that I had mentioned in the previous slide there. We'll also set up a file feed that LBS will then be able to send back to Excellus. So if we do receive notice that a member has opted to elect into COBRA coverage, we will send that notification through that file back to Excellus so that we could make the appropriate updates within their system as well. Through the role as for each of the municipalities. So this is where the COBRA payment remittance will come into play. So as I mentioned a little earlier, LBS will collect those COBRA premiums for any member that has elected that COBRA coverage. LBS will then remit those premiums back to each individual municipality on a bi-weekly basis, and we will remit those via check, so that you'll receive a check in the mail with those that premium amount. The municipality, we then use those premiums to reimburse themselves from what had been previously paid to the consortium. As I mentioned, what the consortium will have access to with the reporting, the remittance reporting. So if you do receive that premium back and that amount, and you're uncertain of what it's regarding, what member may have elected, again, the consortium will have access to those reports and will be able to notify you of, here's the member that is enrolled in coverage, here's the premium amount that was sent in. So they will have all that backup information to send over for you. So you'll have that information.
When Dan says the consortium, he means me.
Yeah,
so
I didn't want to say.
No, you can throw me under the bus.
Okay, I didn't want to just throw
you
guys.
You're good. So
yeah.
if you have questions or concerns about payments being received from LBS and how they should be applied, or who they're applying to, feel free to reach out to me directly and I can give you that information. That information will also be on your billing roster that Terry's going to send monthly with the consortium bill as well. So I'll be pulling those reports for Terry to add that to the billing rosters as well, but just so you're aware.
And so continuing on, the municipalities then will continue to pay the consortium as billed as they normally would. One thing to note, if you've previously had enrolled your members in COBRA coverage prior, now you will no longer need to do that. So all of that will be handled directly through the consortium, through those file feeds that we are going to set up. So you'll just need to notify of any member that is terminated. LBS will again receive those termination notices, send out those elections. If a member does then in turn elect to continue the COBRA coverage, we will send over a notification to Excellus to advise that this member has elected coverage as of this date. So paying for COBRA. So for those members that do opt in to continue that coverage period, for the initial election, they will have 45 days to make their first payment with regards to COBRA. Beyond that, they will have the premiums will be due each month, but there will be a 30-day grace period. So they'll have an additional 30 days to make that payment to continue the coverage, to keep that available to them. After that 30-day grace period, LBS will then terminate that member for non-payment. So then we will turn them back to the last payment date received. So they will have coverage through that last month that they paid through. Ways that members are able to pay for their COBRA coverage: they can simply mail in a check or money order to LBS. They can set up automatic deductions through their checking or savings accounts so that those are automatically pulled every month. They also can simply call in and pay by phone using either a check or credit card. So they can contact the customer service team and make a payment directly to them. There's also the option here listed for making a payment through the online portal. We usually advise against this option. There is a service fee that is incurred through making that payment online. So due to so many other ways that members are able to make those payments, again, and unless it's an absolute necessity, we would advise against making any of those online portal payments just to avoid any additional fees. So I know we had gone through quite a bit. I know we were a little bit over time as well. So any additional questions with regards to COBRA?
I just wanted to add to the big takeaway is if you're doing direct data entry into Excellus and you're a small group, you need to enter terminations instead of COBRA enrollments after January 1, because then the rest is taken care of by LBS and Excellus, sending the election letter, having the previous employee elect for it. LBS then communicates to Excellus to enroll that member in COBRA. So those COBRA enrollments, how we used to handle them, if you're doing direct data entry, will be no longer. They will be just terminations, and then the proper notices are going to be sent out to your previous employee, which hopefully creates less stress for all of our small group municipalities moving forward into 2024. And I'm just talking away here. The only other highlight I wanted to make was the 102 premium rate. So you're allowed COBRA to charge an extra 2% admin, which will be tacked on to all of our small group COBRA billing. But that is also going to be the 102% is going to be premium rate will be billed to the previous employee as their premium rate for enrollment. So it will all balance out. It's not going to be an additional fee to the municipality in that sense, since it'll be direct billed to your previous employee. But I did want to give you an update on that. So if you see an active platinum and it's this rate, but then a COBRA platinum is a little bit higher, that's why on your bill that those rates will be a little bit higher, is that 2% admin fee that's going to be tacked on. And that's just to slightly offset the expense of contracting for the COBRA services. So I'm done talking, I promise. So are there any other questions about anything that we covered today? Information about open enrollment, where to find your enrollment forms, questions about moving from PROACT to Excellus for our PBM, our prescription benefit manager for 2024, or LBS and that COBRA administration for all of our small group municipalities. Okay, well, thank you for joining us today. I'm not sure if Elin had some closing comments for us or not, but thank you all for joining us today and getting all this information firsthand. I do plan on emailing out the recording as well as all the slide decks you saw today and additional resources as they become available as we enter into open enrollment for 2024.
Thank you, Kylie, and thank you, Denise, for your last comment. I have to give all the credit to Kylie. Kylie put this together and coordinated with Brandon and Dan, so we appreciate Excellus and LBS joining us today. And some of you have asked for information, and we will be following up as soon as possible after this meeting. We'll compare notes and get back to you as necessary. So we appreciate your time and spending it with us to learn more about what's happening. And we'll be doing some learning as you're learning as the Excellus transition and LBS doing COBRA for us will be new for us as well. So we'll all work through it together. But I appreciate everybody being here today, and thank you very much, Kylie, for putting this together.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.